we're here today for is to talk about a big anniversary. The March 2nd, 2012 tornado outbreak that went through a lot of small towns, including my hometown. Being the 10-year anniversary, this is kind of a big deal. So what an opportunity to get to talk about reflecting on that event.
Good to see you. Appreciate it. Yeah, your hometown got hit. It was kind of an unbelievable event. We had the leap year event just a couple days prior, and then we had the massive wedge tornado that went through southern Indiana. Also, other was that went into the eastern part of Kentucky, which just blew the eastern part of the state out in West Liberty and Cyersville.
Yes, totally. So what I'm going to do is do like a 5-question round here, and then we'll have a little conversation on the back end. So it's been 10 years. What sticks in your mind most about that particular tornado outbreak, March 2nd, 2012?
At 3:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, trained weather spotters reported a tornado near Bunker Hill, moving northeast at 65 to 70 miles per hour.
We saw the signs 5-6 days out. We had an event on Wednesday, the 29th. We had 8 tornadoes that day, and then we're preparing for the big one. What sticks out is the system worked, okay? UK dismissed at noon, 1 o'clock, U of L, EKU, the colleges, the schools. There was this Humana. People were letting out. The one that we screen right there, we worked together to get the preparedness, to let people know. The system worked to get people home. And then we preached to have a plan of action of where to go when the warnings came out. And we lost 14 people, and let us never forget them. Yeah. Never. No. But it could have been much worse had we not prepared and got the system to work.
Yeah, and every one of these events is a learning experience, right? So let's just talk about that from, I know after the tornado outbreak, we as broadcasters, I was at the CBS station at the time, we went back and talked about what could we have done better for the next one. I know that y'all do after actions. What lessons did you all take away and add to your future efforts from that event?
Yeah, the biggest thing of all was we overissued warnings south of what we call the boundary, south of the warm front. So in central and southern Kentucky, basically south of the parkways for the sake of argument, there was classic supercell thunderstorms. They looked like tornado cells, just like the ones that were north of there, the one in Henryville and other places in West Liberty. But south of there, the cloud bases were a little bit higher, just a little bit. And that made a profound effect because there were funnel clouds that never touched down, but they got gargantuan hail. So because of this event, we changed our mindset. We have a person who focuses just on the first 3 to 6 hours, the mesoanalyst, and we do mesoscale analysis. And that's part of the warning decision now that we issue now. We look at the environment. That is the key ingredient, the absolute number one ingredient. And that really was the lesson because we did not do so well with our warning south of the boundary.
And just to kind of add to that, talk briefly about how hard that is for the radar operator to see the classic supercell and make that decision that you and your scientific estimation think that the same looking storm 20 miles, 30 miles south of one producing an EF4 will not produce one. That's hard.
That's a great comment and good question. Yeah, so the deal is that we knew that first tornado touchdown was west of Henryville in Washington County. And once that's on the ground, your trigger's different now. It's all different. So it's extremely hard to have restraint and go severe thunderstorm warning, not tornado warning. But I believe with my heart and soul, even our best radar operators at the office believe this. With we have the 2 out of 3 rule: persistent rotation on radar, a reliable report, and the third one is the environment, the mesoscale, the short term, what's going on with humidity and temperature and dew point and all that.
After this event, it was very quiet, but just a few days prior, Harrisburg, Illinois, got hit hard. We had the Leap Day event. So that was just a couple days prior, and we don't want to forget about that one either.
No. I mean, that was probably my longest day of my weather service career was on Wednesday, 29th. I went in at 4 o'clock in the morning. I immediately got on radar, issued tornado warnings for about 3 hours. I saw on several TV stations the damage at a trucking firm in E-Town. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, it got hit. All the TV stations were down there. I told the guy I was with, we got to get down there before they start cleaning this up. So we actually left with 2 others, and I looked at, found tornadoes in southeast side of E-Town, 2 in Hodgenville, and 1 in Clarkson. And Joe found several others. I think we had 8 that day. And I remember distinctly, Jared, doing a soundbite with Monty Webb on WHAS, and he said, well, what else do you want to say? I said, if you think today is bad, you wait till Friday.
And speaking about kind of the off season, which we don't like to say because there isn't one in
Currently not, right.
Kentucky just had a horrible tornado outbreak back in December. You surveyed for, what was it, 8, 9, 10 days, something like that. Let's just take a minute and compare. For me personally, when I saw the pictures coming out of Bowling Green and Mayfield in December, I mean, it brought the memories back. Talk about some of the similarities and differences of those tornado outbreaks and the tornadoes themselves and the damage they caused.
Yeah, I'm telling you, memories came back from Henryville immediately when I got to Bowling Green. Yeah, so let's compare them. They were both big events. The December 10th, 11th event was really 2 main thunderstorm cells, super cells. One was the long tracker, 177 miles, I think. It ended up in my area in Ohio County, starting in northeast Arkansas. The other one that came up flying out of Tennessee and then went up off and on through Bowling Green and up there towards Boyle County. So they're big events, right? But the one in December is highly anomalous because it's in the middle of the night. It's just before Christmas. People aren't thinking tornado.
No.
December is a rare month for tornadoes. If you will, March 2nd, most of the big tornado banks in American history are usually in the spring. March 2nd is a little early, but March, April, May, June, that's prime time. So that was daytime, the one. So you have more awareness. People could actually see it. I really don't want people to do that, but people could see it, and people made judgment calls, right or wrong, whether going 90 miles an hour down the interstate to get around it, which you really shouldn't do, but it saved people's lives. Middle of the night, you don't know where it is. You have no visibility. It's raining like cats and dogs. So the events are similar, but they're also very different.
It really is mitigation, because while the goal is to prevent all loss of life, it's a very hard goal. So, we just do our best to mitigate. And like you said, you can help doing that by just having multiple ways of getting our information.
Right. Yeah. We want to have people I always say have a plan, Stan, to mitigate the storms. The odds of you getting a tornado are extremely rare. There's no question, but when they hit, they're devastating.
You were talking about talking to Monty Webb about if you thought this was bad. There's very few times in my career when I just knew that it was going to be bad. And on the morning of March 2nd, I'll never forget it. I was actually still living at home in Henryville with my folks. And, I was leaving the house and going to the station. And, it was like 3 hours before the event. And I told him, I said, chances are it's not going to hit our house.
True.
But I told him, I said, if you get under a tornado warning today, take it serious.
That's right.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill little spin up on the line. This is a whole different ball of wax. And then, wouldn't you know, 3 hours later, I'm on the air talking about a tornado that's chewing up all of the buildings on our farm. It's just chewed up the school where I went to school, gave a talk about severe weather safety 2 weeks prior. I mean, you talk about hitting close to home, and it hit so close to home for all of us because it's a very tightly knit community back there in southern Indiana and northern Kentucky. And we all knew somebody that was affected. It was a heart-wrenching day. And for me, I felt like I'm still hopeful that I've had the worst day of my weather career early on in my career, because I wouldn't want to go through anything worse than that.
Right. Yeah. I always remember the Clark County superintendent, your school. I was at a talk. I was at some agricultural talk somewhere, and he came up and praised us in front of 200 farmers about how I remember that day the phone rang off the hook. I've never heard phones ring like this. I can't imagine being a switchboard operator. But the
Yeah.
phone rang and rang and rang and rang. And apparently him and along with lots and lots of our partners were calling about school dismissals.
Yes.
And apparently in Clark County, they kept calling. I didn't take the calls, but apparently they kept calling. And one of my guys, they got all the buses but one. You know the story.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
my
Yeah.
guys basically told them, based on what you told us, you don't have enough time to do what you want. So they sent the bus back
Yep.
to Clark, right? And the kids got out. I don't know how many run the bus, 10, 7, I don't know. But they got into the bathrooms and they all lived. And that bus, you know what happened. Tell everyone what happened to the bus.
Well, it wound up in the restaurant across the street.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. And, whether you don't know what higher power did this and talk to someone in their right ear, but something told those educators to get those kids out of that school. Because, you could have, at the time, you could have made the conscious, good decision either way to have kept the kids in a brick building or put them on the roads, and there's risks there of having them on the road or all in one place. There was no perfect solution, but what they did wound up being the best decision. But it was hard to know in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I even get chills thinking about the whole thing. The system, like I said when we first started this, the system overall worked. I think of that mother who laid on her kids. She's lost her legs, who protected her kids up there. I've got a picture of her in my office. It's devastating. Look at the impact of her life. Nothing's changed. Her life, she lives with that every day. Her kids see that.
I think we've got to go back and just talk very briefly about the decisions that are made. And people may or may not realize this, but a large part of our efforts as meteorologists is to assist the decision makers, emergency managers, schools. That is a huge part of what we do. We inform them, and then they have to make the decision. I prefer doing what we do, because I would hate to be the person making those decisions, but it gives us credit knowing how important it is for us to know what we're doing to tell them so they can make those calls.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we do decision support. I remember we did a call on March 1st. We had, I don't remember, 200 or 300 people on the call. I remember the the state director called me. He claimed he could tell by the sound of my voice how bad it was going to be, which I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, the next day we went to a high risk. SPC put us in a high risk, and Ted says, we're in a high risk. I'm like, yeah, we should do another call. I said, you do it. I'm tied up. So he did a call. There was a lot of people in that call. And once again, the state director called me and wanted to hear it. I said, this is the day. If you're going to get one, it's today. It's going to be somewhere generally north of the parkways, generally. And that's where they were.
Yeah. This isn't Oklahoma where you can see it coming from 30 miles away either. The hills of southern Indiana are very unforgiving. I mean, even when it's during the day, it's difficult. Chasers don't like that part of the country for a reason.
Absolutely. And it's much worse in Eastern Kentucky. That's when you ask me what I think of. I think about those 2 supercells in Eastern Kentucky because, they call them mountains, the mountains. And let me tell you, they went up and down those mountains. It just leveled. You can still see it if you take the mountain parkway. You can still see the massive deforestation in that when it went through.
Yeah. No, it's I've been pushing back on those thoughts of the falsehoods, essentially, that our terrain in that part of the country can block significant weather from occurring at a point. It's not. We don't have that type of terrain.
That's right. We don't. This is not the Rocky Mountains. No.
Well, John, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for doing it with us. I enjoyed it, Jared, and I wish you all the best out there in Phoenix, and send us some sunny weather.
Thank you.